Fox News contributor, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. By the way, he has a new documentary coming out. It's going to be on PBS called Journey to America. I've got details on my website, Hannity.com. Mr. Speaker, congratulations. Great to have you. 1 week from tonight, Donald Trump beat the odds. He beat the legacy media. He beat 9 years of smear, slander, and besmirchment. And he will be called President Trump yet again.
Well, look, I hold my breath to get through 7 more days of Joe Biden. I mean, every day he seems to find a new way to weaken America, to make Trump's job harder, to assert things that are patently false. And I think for the country's sake, the sooner we can get to that inauguration, the sooner we could wave goodbye as he goes back to Delaware, the safer the country will be. And until that happens, I frankly remain worried about what he may do in the next few days that will be truly destructive.
So look at California as a model. All right, the highest tax state. They have all of these new Green Deal boondoggles, $650 million. How do you make the Port of Los Angeles green with $650 million? Billions set aside for wind turbines. But we have fire hydrants in a state known for wildfires, known for high winds called Santa Ana winds, both very predictable. They don't practice the science of forestry, and they don't have water. The reservoir in the Pacific Palisades was empty, and then they just point fingers at each other and then blame Trump. Explain that to me.
Sure. Look, I think what you see in California, in Chicago, in Baltimore City, around the country, is you see a machine. The machine gradually gets weaker, sicker, dumber, less capable of doing anything effective. It has a set of values that are weird, so that paying for art is really good, but paying for the fire department is really bad. Paying for whatever the latest idea that some left-wing nut has is a really good thing, but paying for police is bad. And the result is all of this was avoidable. I'm confident that Los Angeles will, in fact, be back, just as Chicago was after the Great Fire of 1871, or as San Francisco was after the great earthquake of 1906. But all of this was avoidable.
But Mr. Speaker, it's 2025. We understand how to prevent forest fires. You know, we understand that you need water to put them out.
Let me give you an example of how really stupid this is. The Reagan Library had goats that ate the shrubs. And when they had a big fire in the Simi Valley, it didn't get to the library because all of the shrubs that would have caught fire had been eaten by the goats. Laguna Beach right now has the same program. They have goats that eat the shrubs. This is not necessarily a high-tech trillion-dollar problem. But when you have left-wing cuckoos who are incompetent and who rise basically in an incestuous machine where who you know is more important than what you can do, you have a steady downward decline in the ability just to be competent. And that's what's happening right now in California.
And this is where the Democratic Party would take the country if they had their way. All right. So Donald Trump spoke about one big, beautiful bill. Senate Republicans are talking about 2 bills. You feel very strongly it should be 1. Okay. The consensus seems to be moving towards 2. How can you do 1 or 2 and still get it right?
Well, look, I'm very worried, and I'm happy to talk to the Senate Republicans. I'm very worried that if they split the bills, the bill that really matters for the 2026 election is the tax cut, affordability, greater take-home pay, and more jobs bill. That's the one that really matters. And if we lose the House next year because the Senate refuses to pass a bill in a timely way, this will be a disaster that will tie up the last 2 years of the Trump administration, just as Nancy Pelosi did after we lost in 18. Remember, the House and Senate leaders in 17 convinced Trump to wait. They didn't pass the tax cut until December. It didn't have an effect in 18. We lost 40 seats. Now, why the Senate can't get its act together bothers me a great deal. I hope they will reverse themselves And if they fail to pass the tax cut by Memorial Day, as Speaker Johnson wants, or by July 4th, which I think is absolutely the last time, then we are drifting as a party towards a really bad 2026 that's totally avoidable.
They'll succeed
if they would just get their act together.
And I think it's going to take
That's
the American
exactly,
people calling their
the
election.
Senate.
Yeah.
Look, the Senate's going to stay Republican in all probability. They don't have the same sense of urgency. And, you know, senators like to have multiple bites at the apple. But in fact, in the House, you need to have one big bill. You need to have about 2.5 months of President Trump stumping for it. There are 13 Democrats in seats that Trump carried. There are another 21 Democrats that are in seats that he got within 5%. If he goes out and holds town hall meetings and rallies in those districts, just as they did this last week with the Lake and Riley bill, they're going to get a bunch of Democrats voting with us, and we will pass the bill.
Newt Gingrich, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.